alcohol allowances in here, and the state's been real clear about that. So when we get a questionable product, what we'll do is I'll contact the state and say, what is this? Does this work or not? Or I'll talk to some colleagues, in the office and in other counties and see what the consensus has been. So anything that comes in, again, we're going to evaluate it. We're going to talk to you about it. If we don't understand what that product is, we're going to ask what the components are, how it's made, those kind of things. So each one of these we're looking at definitely case by case. We're taking our time to, there's a format to go through, but we're looking at each application and reviewing the products that are in there. And some people have turned in, applications with, 30, 40 different products in there. And some of them are kind of complicated as well. And that does get quite time consuming. So, what I have noticed with that, it's kind of off topic, but is that people the first year they put in for lots of different topics. We're going to do jams, we're going to do cookies, we're going to do all these different things. And then the next year when they're renewing, oh no, they're sticking to one thing. I'm doing chocolate covered caramel, that's it. Because, I guess Tom will talk about that, about business models and what you can make and how that all comes together.
One thing that ties in with what you're saying in the previous thing about the permit, when you ask for a permit, is it per product or is it per kitchen entity? Like, let's say I'm calling Caroline's Picnic.
Right.
Do I do like mustard and do I do other things? Or do I do only the mustard?
No, you can apply for more than one. There's not a limit on how many different food items you can do under the same application. So you could do everything on one application.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So under one permit, you can make cookies, marmalade, pesto, whatever.
You got it. As long as it's...
You have to apply for it, you have to put that on your permit.
It has to be on the application. We want to know what you're intending to make. We don't want to come out and see, hey, well, we approved mustards, and now we're seeing jams. I mean, what's this all about? We want to know, we want to have, the proposal should be there on what you've said you're going to do. So we've had a chance to discuss that and what you mean by it.
Can you add things on?
You could, yeah, absolutely. If you want to call and make an amendment or addendum to it, yeah, we could do that. When you renew, yeah, you can change what you've been doing. Yeah, we'll be flexible with that. You can upgrade from Class A to Class B if you pay the difference. That's fine. We've had people do that. They thought, okay, well, I'm just started at home. Now I want to go out and sell it in stores.
Can you go backwards?
Oh, we're not going to give refunds. I hate to say it. So for when you renew, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, because what happens is once you're in the system as having an application, our computer is going to keep sending you invoices, right? It's going to be okay. Well, it's a year later. Here comes your invoice. It's just automatic. That's just how it works. So if you want to decline it, just write something back. Say, hey, no longer in business. We'll close it out. We're not going to hold you to that money. If you want to change it, I want to change from Class A to B or B to A. Let us know. That's your chance to renew it. And they come out a month early too, so there's plenty of time. We're not in the habit of trying to penalize people with these things. Exactly, yeah, straightforward. So again, that list is the most complicated part. You can talk to me individually about it because everyone's got their own ideas on it, on what they want to do. That's the starting point for most people. What do you want to make? How do you want to sell it, right? So then just the nuts and bolts of the application, it's just basically a self-certification checklist. It's there in the back. We're looking at, again, facilities and equipment. How are you keeping your things clean and sanitized? I'm encouraging people to use separate utensils from their home use than for their cottage foods. It's really a separate business you're running inside of your home kitchen. So again, we want to see what's the separation there. We don't want to see cutting boards that are used for your chicken salad going in and using for your jams, right? We don't want these chances of cross-contamination. So we talk about those things. Or if I'm going out to your house, I'll talk about those things, look through those. Procedure. Yeah, that's in here. There's a slide about that too, but it is a requirement. I'll get in just a second about that. Let me finish this first. So again, that's the equipment and facilities. What do you have? Can you do it? Do you have water? Do you have hot water? Do you have soap and paper towels? Those kind of things. Procedures. How are you sanitizing your equipment? Illness prevention, we're just saying you're not going to work when you're sick, you're going to wash your hands, you're not going to be smoking while you're working. Just kind of basically, keep that still in the law, but it is, go figure. Prevention of contamination, it is a little bit more of an issue because it is a home. In a kitchen, it's pretty straightforward. We say, well, you can't have dogs and cats in here. Well, at your home, you can't have dogs and cats in the kitchen while you're working, right? We can't say you can't have dogs and cats in your home, or children for that matter on this list, right? So, of course, you can have children in your home, but while you're working in your cottage food operation, that's the hat you're wearing. That's what you're doing. You can't be changing diapers at the same time, right? It's common sense. But hey, that's what we got to make sure. You're promising not to do that. You've thought of that. Same thing, vermin exclusion. There's not rats, mice in your house. Let's see here. I think the training's on the next one. The water supply one, again, if you're in the city or on municipal water, not an issue. If you're on an individual well, we just need to do some testing that shows that it's safe water. Pretty straightforward. We'll cover those if you have particular questions on what type of testing you need. Come talk to us. Basic bacteriological and nitrate sampling. Pretty straightforward. And if you're on an individual wastewater system, like a septic system, like a lot of people are in this county, again, we just need a review of that too, an opportunity. There's another group in environmental health that does septic permitting. Just an opportunity if there's any existing problems with that system, we don't want to tack another component onto that parcel. So it's the same thing with the planning department review. If you're in an unincorporated area, there's a sheet we send up to the planning department where you put in your assessor parcel number. They sign it off saying, well, there's no red tags, there's no existing issues with this property. So it's just a chance for them to comment. But they've all come back 100%. Within the city, we haven't seen any issues as far as zoning issues with these at all, which is good. Then training, what you were talking about. So the law says that we need food processor training as required by this cottage food law. The idea was the state was going to make a specific training for cottage food operators. It hasn't happened, and I don't know if it's going to happen. So in lieu of that, what they're allowing as far as the California Food Handler Card. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. That came into law probably about 4 years ago, where all food handlers in this state need to have a card, like similar to other states. Oregon's, Las Vegas, they've been doing this for years. So it's something you can get online, $10, $15, you can get it. You just do it from home. You go through a couple modules, complete a test, and they send you a certificate. It's very basic food handling knowledge. Wash your hands, sanitize utensils, don't work when you're sick, those kind of things. But it is a requirement. So we'll ask to see that when you come in. Do you have your California Food Handler Card? If you don't, we'll say get it. You have 60 days to get it. Again, you can do it in 4 hours maximum online.
I did it,
Uh-huh.
and actually I thought, I'll just do it in like 15 minutes, done. It took me 4 hours.
Did it?
And I really read everything.
Sure.
Paid attention.
Good.
And then they're telling you what temperature needs to pour to cook it and where to store your food or not
Right.
to store your food. I found it actually pretty interesting.
Good.
Because I also cook and do other things, and it was $10. So.
The problem with it is that it's geared for retail food facilities, for restaurants, for restaurant workers. And there's a big difference between a restaurant and a home as far as equipments. And again, they're talking about final cook temperatures for chicken, for beef, which aren't even allowed under this cottage food. So I'm hoping there's still be, training that's more applicable to home-based businesses coming out.
But what I'm saying is you need to read in order to take the test. And
Sure.
You really have to read everything, because if I had not read certain things, I probably would not have had the answer.
Right. And I guess it's your experience too. How much information have you had in the past, training, all those things too. Anyhow, California Food Handler Card, if you just do a search for it, there's multiple providers out there online that are offering this test. And again, I've seen the test price go down. It was about $15, it's down about that $10 range now. Okay. Labeling, I'll get into some of the requirements for labeling. I know Tom's going to talk about labeling as well. But basically 2 parts of the label here, this principal display panel and an informational panel. You can think of like a jam or like a box where there's 2 panels. Your front panel, the primary display panel is what you see first. So there's certain informations that need to be on there, like the product name. What is this? This is strawberry jam. The net quantity, what is it? 8-ounce jar, whatever it is. 25 cookies, whatever the count is, net quantity, weight, or count. And the words made in a home kitchen need to be on there. And that's on the primary panel. So when people pick this thing up, they know that it's made in a home kitchen. That's part of the law, one of the requirements. And then on the informational panel, there's a lot of information we want on this label. And people have had problems like, how do I squeeze this all on here? And you could try to get it all on one label, or you can split it up into 2 things. On the informational panel, that's where you can do ingredient lists, the name and address of your business. Allergen information, you need to highlight if there's any of the 8 major allergens like wheat, soy, milk, fish, eggs, nuts. Wow, you're good in tree nuts there, so really good. And then also your registration number is something we're going to give you when you register. And nutritional facts, if necessary, we'll get into that in just a second. This name and address has come up a lot too. Do I have to put my full address on here? I don't want people knowing where I live. So what the law says is if you're listed in the phone book, you don't have to. People can look up your name and see your address in the phone book, then you don't need to include it on the label. If you're not listed in the phone book, you do. Kind of antiquated, right? I mean, who uses a phone book anymore? I don't even know why they bother printing those things anymore. But what's that now? It could, I think, is correct. Yeah, that's your business address. That's, I think. I'd have to review that, though. I forget. I know that question's come up, and I forget what the answer is on that. Part of me's thinking maybe it's no, though. Because it's the physical address. Because your CFO address is the address where you're making the things. So that's not a mailing address. Yes, I'm going to take it back. It couldn't be a PO. It has to be your...
I have to put my physical address.
You're right. So I'm glad my gear switched and I said, well, that doesn't sound right. It makes sense is the problem. So things that make sense aren't always right.
A registration number on there, and we're registered, but they should be able to get our address from the registration number.
They should. Again, this is the way the law is written. So again, I can't comment on that. These are the requirements for the labeling as far as the state requirements of what they put in there. And on your, on the information package, there's a page dedicated to labeling requirements as well. So we do spend time reviewing that. We're not retaining copies of your labels. Say if you had 10 products you're interested in making, we're not saying submit us a label of each one, but we're going to review this. We want to make sure you're covering this information on the label. And then a nutritional fact panel, you might see these on you see this a lot of commercial products. The state's telling us that these are required